Hello, Bachelor Nation. I'm everyone's favorite host. That is not Chris Harrison, Veronica Gail. Alongside me is Meagan Gonzalez and Ashley Stepper. Girls, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. These last two episodes were a lot, so I'm excited to talk about them.
Yeah, I'm doing well too. Happy to be back. Happy to talk about Matt James and dive into his season.
So definitely an interesting first 2 weeks here. We had 3 one-on-ones, 2 group dates, a crazy rose ceremony with people fainting, people going home, people staying. It's been wild. But let's dive into that week 2 group date. So there was only one group date for week 2. So it had 18 girls. It was huge. They tried on wedding dresses, capture the flag. Ladies, what did we think about this group date? Ash, we'll start with you.
I think both group dates that Matt James has done has been really fun, both very unique. I'll talk about the wedding one. I think it's especially in the beginning to have them dressed up in the bridal gowns and everything might be a lot, especially when you think about the concept of the Bachelor. And at the end of this, that is all of their ultimate goal, I guess. But I think also when they do the more physical and competitive ones, it is a little bit more fun, I guess, for everyone, but especially the Bachelor, because then they can kind of see not just the very pretty ball gown rose ceremony side of the women, but also them just kind of in a more fun, upbeat environment.
Yeah, and that group date definitely stood out just because of how many of them were on it. They already have a record number of ladies this season, and to have, I think it was 18 or 19 on that group date, that's pretty intimidating. If I was going on that with that many girls, I would try to be aggressive and try to get his attention and do all that I could to make sure he saw me. So I think with that group date, you saw a lot of them trying to get out of their comfort zone and trying to stand out during the game and try to win, basically just because they wanted to show him how much they cared and how even though there were 18 other girls on this date, they wanted him to just see them.
I completely agree. Definitely a crazy group date. I personally don't really love when they do the wedding picture dates. It just feels awkward to me. They're just kind of there, it's kind of weird. But adding the capture the flag element made it a lot of fun. I know me personally, I was watching, it was dang, that seems really fun to play capture the flag with paint. I really wish I was on this date. So it did seem really fun, made it seem more playful, But moving farther into the episode, we got to the cocktail party before the rose ceremony. Mainly lots of drama between Marilyn and Victoria. Victoria told Matt Marilyn was, quote, psychologically disturbed, and this eventually sent Marilyn home. How do we feel that this exchange went? Meagan, we'll start with you.
So Victoria is definitely an odd character. She definitely wants to stand out in the season, and that's very apparent. She wants to be the quote unquote villain. She wants to be the person that everybody talks about, and that's why she's so just overbearing with everything she says, everything she does. So I think with the whole Marilyn thing, I really didn't see that much interaction with them personally. And then you saw that one comment from Marilyn just saying that I don't remember exactly what she said, but something in fact she wanted to get in Victoria's brain and just see why she was the way she was, basically. And I think Victoria just wanted to show her dominance and show how much pull she had in the show, basically. So she told Matt right away because she wanted to see what she could do about it, and she got the exact outcome she wanted. Marilyn got booted right then and there, at that rose ceremony. So I think she was just showing everyone else and herself how much dominance she has over the whole group and the show, because she is this main character. She is this person everybody either wants to love or hate. So she was really just showing her presence.
Yeah, I have to agree. I will say I do kind of give credit to Matt for cutting the drama right away, whereas last season we kind of talked about Tayshia and Noah and Bennett, I think it was, that we talked about in the last podcast, about how their drama was such a big plot line, and it kind of took away from the more meaningful connections and seeing kind of, I guess, Tayshia and Zach and how they ultimately ended up together. I did see, I'm going to bring back my TikTok conspiracy theories, of course. I did see a conspiracy theory about Victoria on TikTok that she actually wasn't supposed to be on the season and that she was a production assistant, because not to say that there's a look on The Bachelor, but I do know on the application they ask for your height and weight, which we can unpack that a different time. And they kind of all are these very pretty girls. Not to say Victoria isn't a beautiful woman, but people are assuming that she was a production assistant and that production had seen how nice and pretty all these girls are for Matt James' season, and they were like, okay, well, we need a villain, we need someone to kind of spice things up here, and Victoria kind of stepped into that role. If that's true, that is absolutely crazy. And power to her, because she is being talked about by literally everyone, almost as much, I'd say, as Matt's been talked about, because she just brings the drama. And even as much as like having her bra hanging out of her dress, like people are constantly talking about her.
I completely agree. I know all my group chats were blowing up about Victoria, how crazy things are going. If that conspiracy is true, that's going to be crazy. Like, that's just insane. The fact that like she's purposely on there to cause drama. Amazing. I'm obsessed. I really hope that conspiracy is true, but who knows? I felt like Victoria mainly only approached Matt because Marilyn got that orchid, that flower earlier in the date. I feel like she took Marilyn as a threat and was like, I got to get her out of here, and caused the drama. Did Marilyn deserve to go home? No, I don't think. But did I really care that she went home? Also a no. You know what I mean? Felt like, again, drama between the B list. Neither of these girls are probably going to win, so it didn't really matter. But, and I will have to say, Victoria's outfit that evening, you're on live TV. You know you're being seen by millions of people. You want to look your best, you know? Just didn't think she really hit the nail on the head with that one, but hey, people, they do what they got to do. So let's move into week 3. Week 3, full of drama, specifically around Sarah. So if we remember, Sarah interrupted the group date, stealing time away from the other girls, talking to Matt, and that caused the girls to gang up on her later in the episode. How do we feel this exchange went? Ash, we'll start with you.
I do think I will give credit again to production of The Bachelor here, because I think week 2 they made Sarah into this great girl. Like, they gave her such a great edit with their one-on-one and how close and how intimate her and Matt got there, and then to just do a complete 180 the next week and have kind of villainize her a little bit. I do think that this kind of situation, I know myself, I could never go through. I could never live with like 20 other women dating the same man. So like, all the power in the world to these women, I know emotionally, psychologically, I could not do that. So I don't know how much she was struggling. I don't know if all the women should have kind of ganged up against her when she wasn't coming like and hanging out with them and stuff, because, you know, everyone is going through something, and she clearly was. It was a little bit bold of her, and I guess against Bachelor etiquette, to go in the middle of a group date. But I guess those are the things in these situations that kind of get you noticed. It's the person that comes back, like Bennett did last season with Tayshia, to see her. When you do these like big acts, like these grand acts for, I guess, attention and to be noticed, they do work. And I guess that's kind of what Sarah was doing to try to stay. And obviously those grand acts, they go well towards the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, but not necessarily for the rest of the cast. And that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, I completely agree. That whole situation, like, I couldn't help but feel bad for her. Of course, I didn't agree with like her interrupting that group date when she could have talked to him after the group date or during the date she was on. I think she was going to be on the other group date. So I really don't agree with that. I know how insecure you could probably feel with all these women dating the same man you are, and just taking that time away from your family, especially in her case with her dad and him being ill and her not knowing like how much time she has left with them. So it's just all those things, like, it definitely added on to her stress. I'm sure of it. But I really don't agree with how the other women handled it. I thought it was they were bullying her, like, honestly. Like, they shouldn't have been that concerned with it. It was done, it was over with. You just have to make the best of it and make time with Matt when you can. You can't go back and change it. She apologized. That's more than some of them do. A lot of them will interrupt a date and just be like, yeah, I took initiative and I did it. She at least apologized. She seemed very sincere about it. I just don't agree with how they attacked her and made her feel even worse, because she obviously was beating herself up about it. So I just thought that was just not the right way to go, and I didn't appreciate that, honestly.
I completely agree with Meagan. I thought definitely the way that the girls went about it seemed a little harsh, a little mean, especially the fact that it seemed like they were all ganging up on her. Do I think it might have been better if Sarah went after the group date and talked to Matt? Absolutely. So she is partially in the wrong, but definitely I would say the girls in the house are more in the wrong. But eventually Sarah finally decides to leave, not only due to the hostility in the house, but also to the fact that her dad is really sick. And she had two conversations, one with Katie and one with Matt, about her wanting to leave. And how did we feel like these conversations went? Meagan, we'll start with you.
So I have to say, I love Katie at first. At the beginning, I was really not sure about her. Like, she brought the vibrator. Like, that was just such a weird way to introduce yourself to everyone on the show and everyone watching. So at first I was very skeptical of her, but that I think was such a pivotal moment for her and her character, like when she went to talk to Sarah, because she just proved how sincere she was, and how, like we were just talking about, she didn't agree with like how they all attacked her and just made her feel like crap. And the fact that she was actually had gone through the exact same thing with her dad, it made her very personable, and it made me like her so much more. So I really appreciated her going out of her way to talk to Sarah, because I also think that gave Sarah some clarity that like it was okay for her to leave and not everyone would hate her, because I think that was her main concern, is everyone thought she was this villain, everyone was going to hate her, America was going to hate her when they watched the show. So I think that just gave her a little reassurance, like she could leave and she'd still be okay and like bounce back from this experience. And as for Matt, I felt bad for him. Like, you could tell he really wanted her to stay, and I felt really bad. And I know he tried to do everything he could to like make her stay, but it wasn't in the cards. And who knows, I feel like this has happened on The Bachelor before. He picks his final person, they don't work out, and then he'll contact someone that he kicked off that he realized he shouldn't have. That might happen with Sarah. Who knows at this point? I feel like The Bachelor is so unpredictable, that could definitely happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there, Meagan. I think this was a lot of character progression for Katie, where I think I saw a tweet from her after night one where she was like, yesterday I was Katie, today I'm Dildo Girl, which, like, well, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you walk out of the limo and carry that around for the first rose ceremony and everything. It was really nice to see that kind of camaraderie that I think sometimes gets a little bit missed amongst like the cast members, because honestly the girls probably spend more time with each other overall than they do with Matt, because they're living together and stuff. And you see a lot of the time too, I think it's like Hannah Ann and Maddie Prue are like best friends now, even though they were the final two at the end of Pilot Pete season last year. A lot of these girls, it's a very unique situation. I mean, again, like I could never imagine myself in that. And these girls do grow very close to each other. And I think it's nice to see that Sarah was going through something and Katie was able to say, well, I can relate because of XYZ in my life. I also give her a lot of credit for going to the other women and kind of calling them out, because I think it's very easy in that with a lot of women to kind of fall into being a bystander there and say like, well, that's what everyone else is doing, I'm staying out of the drama, I'm just going to stay silent. But Katie kind of said, no, we need to show grace towards her. Like, we don't know what she's going through. She has a big thing going on right now. So I didn't think much of Katie before this week, and now I really do like her a lot. I almost felt though that she was like almost pushing Sarah to go home too much in a way. And I don't think it was in a way to like eliminate more competition, but she definitely was very assertive in like not saying it's up to you, but more so like, yeah, go home to your dad. But I guess because her dad isn't here anymore, unfortunately, like she's speaking from her own experience and I guess what she would have done. And I do agree with you, Meagan, on Matt's reaction to all of it. He took it very well, I think, when he was saying like, praying for you guys, like you guys are my thoughts and prayers and everything. And yeah, I mean, who knows what's gonna happen? Or Sarah could end up with someone else in Bachelor Nation. That happens a ton too. It could be a former contestant from Tayshia or Claire, or even before that, we could see her on Paradise. Who knows? But yeah.
I completely agree. Definitely, I think if Matt ends up breaking up with whoever he picks at the end of this process, he'll be hitting up Sarah again. This is not the last we've seen of her, possibly. She'll be back. But definitely the conversation between Sarah and Katie really made Katie a serious contender in my eyes. Originally, I was like, she brought a specific object to the first night. I wasn't taking her seriously. But after that conversation, I think she's a serious contender in this game, we're going to call it. So curious to see what happens there. But we're looking for love, ladies. We're not just all about the drama here. We want Matt to find his person. So there was 3 very cute one-on-ones, one with Bree, one with Sarah, and one with Serena P. Each of them very cute, very adorable. What was everyone's favorite one-on-one? Meagan, we'll start with you.
This one was tough, but I think I have to go with Bree, Brie is just so wholesome and she just is very likable, and just the whole date, like when they start off and they're on the quads and he flips it right away, like that was hilarious. Like I was on the floor because that with The Bachelor, all these like unrealistic dates, like you're not going to get those when you get out into the real world. And that was honestly a realistic date. Like you could go ride quads with your significant other, you could flip your quad with a significant other. So it was so funny just because to me it was realistic, which a lot of the dates on The Bachelor are not. Like when him and Sarah went on the plane, like I've never done that. I don't think a lot of people have. So it's like it's not realistic. So I want to pick Brie, and like I said, she's just so wholesome, and they really bonded with like their similar like family backgrounds and how they don't have like two parents they grew up with. So I think she's a good match for him, and I'm curious to see like where that relationship goes.
Yeah, I have to agree. I really enjoyed the date between Brie and Matt. I think it was really fun, and I thought it was also really cute when the quad flipped, and it was kind of Matt's like little, I guess, confessional on the side when he was like, "Brie's mom, I'm so sorry. Your daughter is safe. I promise." Like I thought that was really cute and wholesome of him. Sarah's, I did think was really good too, and then they completely like villainized her. And then I do want to make one comment about Serena's date this week. I It was very interesting to hear her say, "I'm falling into like," which at first you would be like, well, you're here to find love, but then you also have to think of like she's with 15 or so other women for this, and they've only been there, I'm sure at that point, for like maybe a week or two. So I like that she was kind of being genuine there, because I think oftentimes we kind of think that the second that these women get out of the limo that they're in love with Matt James or whoever the Bachelor may be, and that's not how it really works. Even though the show kind of, I think, shows like how quickly you can fall into love, that's at least what I think. You can't fall in love that quickly, especially in this sort of situation.
I completely agree. I have to agree with Meagan. My favorite date was also Bree's date. I love the whole, I'm Bree's mom, I swear your daughter's safe. I thought that was so wholesome, so cute. It actually made me like Matt James more. So definitely loved that little clip. But looking into future weeks, we do have some front runners coming in. Who's everyone's front runner that we think will take this competition? Ash, we'll start with you.
That's really hard to think of. I'm going to go back to Brie, even though we just talked about her. I think a lot of these situations and scenarios too, because you're kind of in a bubble. It's very easy to fall in love with someone that probably lives maybe on the other side of the country as you, has a whole different life, because you're in that moment there when the show is being filmed. So it's very easy to just like do that. But then when you think of the real life, it's very hard a lot of these times where they're in two different cities or whatever. But I think Brie and Matt having similar backgrounds, I think will go really far for them. And I also want to see more from Abigail, because she got that first impression rose and I really like her. And I know Matt likes her too, but there hasn't been a lot of her lately. And I hope this coming week they either have a one-on-one or have some sort of time together.
Yeah, I completely agree with Ash. Those were actually the two I was going to say. Brie, like I just said, she's amazing. Like I want to root for her. I want to see how far she can go and how their relationship can blossom. But I really like Abigail. Like Ash said, we haven't seen a lot from her these past two episodes, but that first episode when she got the first impression rose, she was just so wholesome. And what I really liked about her is that all these girls, like we talked about earlier, they try to come on and they try to be perfect. They try to be this perfect mold of what they think Matt will want. But she was very real with him right off the bat. She's like, I'm deaf, I have this disability, and I embrace it. And it's like, it's made me into the person I am. And it's helped me bond, like she said, with her sister and with her family. So I really appreciated that about her. Like she didn't beat around the bush. Like she was very honest with him, like the minute she met him. And I think that's why he gave her the first impression rose and why she still stands out to him. And every time they talk, the few times we've seen, they just really click and he just really enjoys her presence. So I'm going to root for her and Brie, but if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to say Abigail.
I also have to say Abigail. I love her. I think she's so cute. I really wanted to see her go far. And if she doesn't go far, I really hope she's the next Bachelorette. But hey, so taking a break from Matt James and his whole thing, right before we end, there was just some drama with Claire and Dale from last season. E! News has announced they are taking a break, and Dale posted on his Instagram, which has recently been deleted, that him and Claire are taking a break. How do we feel about this? Did we see this coming? Is this a surprise? Meagan, we'll start with you.
Oh, I 100% saw this coming. Like, I don't know if everyone else is in agreement with me, but like, it was just like Ash was saying, it's way too fast. Like, I think you can fall in love with someone in a short amount of time, but not like a week. Like they were legit a week. Like it was not enough. And I know she was all in, but I always got the vibe from him that he did like her, he did want to be with her, but he didn't want to look bad to like America and Bachelor Nation and just reject her. So like that's why he proposed, that's why he went with it. And I think it showed. I think they moved way too fast. And the thing that stood out to me too is after he proposed, I don't know if you guys remember when Chris Harrison like sat down and talked with them, and they aren't even married yet. Like they've barely been dating, and she was already talking to Chris Harrison about having babies. I feel like I could tell on Dale's face that he was just not ready for that. Like he was not feeling babies just yet. So I'm not surprised. I did expect them to last, a little longer than a few months. I gave them like a year and some change. So it was a lot faster than I expected, but I'm not surprised. I definitely thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, I have to completely agree. It was kind of similar. I think it was Brendan last season too with Tayshia at the finale when the Neil Lane date that it was with looking at the rings and stuff. Like you could see his fight or flight kicking in. I think we kind of saw that with Dale when he got engaged. And we've talked about this before, how they didn't even get to meet each other's families. They didn't get to do much together. I think it was actually 12 days that they were together from like filming to their engagement. That is less than like 90 Day Fiance. Like absolutely absurd. I did wish them well because I do feel bad that Claire has gone on this journey, quite a journey. But I think we should have known when we saw that TikTok where he basically put her head through the ceiling. This was a few weeks ago. And people were commenting like, Dale, are you okay? Like, is this a sign? And maybe it was. I will say too, because I follow like Bachelor like tea accounts and stuff, and I get that stuff sent to me. Apparently they're treating it kind of like a middle school relationship where they're like deleting comments off each other's posts. I think Claire like unfollowed Dale's cousin and he unfollowed her. Like just very petty stuff that like Claire's what, like 40 years old? Like, come on, girly, do better. Like I understand maybe you want to jump to having kids because I totally get that for you. But just like pump the brakes a little bit, be a little bit more mature in this. But I do wish them both really well. I kind of hope this is the last we see of Claire because I think she's kind of, the bucket is empty with her in Bachelor Nation. We've run dry of her. But I think Dale might have been cheated a little bit of that Bachelor like experience. So I hope maybe we'll see him on Paradise or something.
I have to agree. I just think it was way too fast. I kind of saw this coming. Also, the age difference between them is very big. I believe Dale is 24 around, and Claire is almost 40. So definitely like they're in different phases of their life, So I kind of saw that where the disconnect would be. And you definitely could tell Dale wasn't in it as much as Claire throughout her season. But that is it for today's episode. Meagan and Ashley, thank you so much for joining me here today. Again, I'm Veronica Gail, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for another Will You Accept This Rose?